Hey, what's up, guys? Quick question. Do all roads lead to God? It's been a touchy subject for a long time now, but just want you to think about that. Do all roads lead to God? As Paul is writing in First Timothy to Timothy, we talked about how he's exhorting him in chapter 2 to pray for all people, leaders and the like, for all people. It goes on, this is my verses for today, are in verse 5. It says, praying for all people, but for there is one God and there is one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself as a ransom for all, which is the testimony given at the proper time. I love that. And that brings up a question a lot of times about one way to God. And there are a lot of people that think there are many ways to God. And the reality is, uh, at some point, you're going to have to choose one single way, right? Because we can stand across a big, huge valley, but you have to think about it, and you can say, well, there's many bridges, many ways to get across, but ultimately, you're going to have to pick one. So there's a few ideas that I came across looking through, and ideas of why people feel like there's so many ways to God and why they feel like that. And there's four of them. And number one was that they haven't committed to any way, any bridge, and they're surprised that their belief in many ways doesn't exempt them from choosing one. So that may be you. So fit in where you get in where you fit in on these. But number two is that their belief in many ways to God hides their true belief that finding God really doesn't matter at all. So it's very easy for someone to just say, oh, they all lead to God. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not concerned because I'm not seeking God right now. I don't even want him. It doesn't matter. Number three is they're convinced that arguing for many ways to God will ensure that they won't be wrong. So it's like throwing stuff against spaghetti against the wall and just hoping something sticks. It's kind of like that. And God's going to ensure that they won't be wrong. The thought here is if there's only one way, surely they'll be included in one of these ways. Which is kind of odd, kind of weird to me, but yes, that's how people think. So the fourth one is, well, they decided that believing in many ways to God requires less work than going through the trouble of finding out and actually considering the claims of a particular or various religions and their systems. So it's just easy for them to just say, no, I'm not going to do the work. All roads lead to God. But I'll just say this, hey guys, that the fact remains, as humans, we're separated from God by sin. And we're all in need of a Savior. And that's the way across the huge valley that we have between God and reconciling with Him. So that's the only way, God tells us in His Word, and there's only one mediator. We just read that. There's one mediator that stands between us and a holy God. So, and brings us together. So we have to understand, our sin, it separates us from God because God is absolutely holy, and that is free of sin. So if there's anyone right now that just feels like they can sin, do whatever they want to, live a lifestyle however they want to, and still get to heaven and live in eternity with God, with a holy God, it's almost impossible when you think about it. Holy, sin-free, our sinful selves who have turned away from Christ, but we still feel like we can live with God in eternity, in a holy place among a holy God. So I'm not sure how that works, but I don't think it does. But in any case, if you haven't already, if you are still looking across with this valley of sin in between you and God, I pray today that you find the bridge that's Jesus Christ, and pick that bridge today. And that's my prayer. Take care.